as you'll see from this clip with Hillary Clinton. Remember, this is a woman who wanted to be president of the United States. And, well, she reveals in this conversation with Christiane Amanpour that she doesn't just want to cancel you. If you disagree with her politically, she thinks you're in a cult and you need to be deprogrammed. There's a lot more in this interview, too, that is revealing and disturbing. Let's start.
So when you look at how to go forward for the country, as you say, is there any area of coalition building that could happen? There are pragmatic Republicans, as you say. Could there be a whole new way of trying to, get legislation going and cross-party governance going?
I feel like we need to have like a glossary running here so I can define words for you, because when Christiane Amanpour, who is the celebrated journalist over there at CNN, who clearly is sort of, she could be part of the cabinet if Hillary Clinton were to be president. When she says words like pragmatic Republicans, I need you to understand what that means. Those are Republicans who do what Democrats want them to do. A pragmatic Republican is a Republican that bows to the will of the Democrats, who will knuckle under, who will cower in fear.
By
And say,
Democrats
okay,
and certain Republicans forming a coalition.
Well, you saw the number of Republicans who voted along with Democrats to keep the government open.
You see, you're a good Republican if you do what now? I'm sorry, reveal that again for us, Hillary. What did they do to make you happy?
Republicans who voted along with Democrats.
Vote with us. Vote with us, and you're okay. See, those are the only good Republicans out there. How come it never goes the other way, right? How come remember when Tulsi Gabbard was in the House of Representatives and she actually, stepped out of the Democrat bubble and said, hold on a minute, maybe we're the baddies. I might actually agree with Republicans on this. How did Hillary Clinton refer to Tulsi Gabbard then? Then she accused her of being a Russian spy.
To keep the government open. So there's clearly a common sense, sane part of the Republican caucus in the House.
Yeah, if you disagree with Hillary, if you don't vote for Democrats, you're not just wrong. We don't just have a disagreement. No, you have no common sense and you're insane. That's what she's saying. See, the only ones who are sane and common sense are the ones who vote for Democrats. And she's presenting herself as a reasonable human being here. You do see through this, right?
But I think they are intimidated. They oftentimes, say and do things which they know better than to say or do. And it will require us defeating those most extreme measures and the people who promote them in order to try to get to some common ground where people can, again, work together. That's the way it used to be. I mean, we had very strong partisans in both parties in the past, and we had very bitter battles over all kinds of things, gun control and climate change and the economy and taxes. But there wasn't this little tail of extremism wagging the.
I'm going to let you finish there, Hillary, but I'm sorry. I got to flow the flag and call bull on this. Are you going to have to bleep that? Can I say bull? It's bull. There, 3 bleeps for you. Hillary Clinton didn't just disagree with her political opponents back when she held the reins of power as First Lady of the United States. When her husband got into a scandal, she didn't just say, well, these Republicans are our political opponents, but we agree on so much and we can be reasonable. No, she literally called anyone who opposed her and her husband members of a vast right-wing conspiracy. Talk show hosts, television commentators, columnists, you, a voter who happens to think that she and her husband are corrupt or even worse, you were members of a vast right-wing conspiracy. Not patriotic Republicans who just, happen to disagree. No. And that people are still using that term. She literally invented it. And now she's trying to act like she's some sort of, George Washington-esque diplomat. Oh, gone are the good old days when we could agree to disagree. I'll say it again, bullshit.
Dog of the Republican Party as it is today. And sadly, so many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, I
do like that she corrected herself there because, they do hand out the talking points that have been, focus group tested and everything. Make sure you use MAGA extremists, not just extremists, MAGA extremists. It's so obvious when you see it, right? They all do the same thing. She actually had to stop herself there. One more time? Oh, sure. One more time.
So many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their marching orders from Donald Trump, who has no credibility left by any measure. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions.
You like how this works, right? Donald Trump has no credibility. Really, what's your evidence of that? Well, he's defending himself in these civil actions, these criminal actions. I'm sorry, who brought these unprecedented history-making, never before in the history of the United States kind of civil and criminal actions against Donald Trump? Partisan Democrat prosecutors. The district attorney in New York City, the district attorney, or the attorney general in the state of New York, the district attorney in Fulton County, Georgia, who literally all three of them ran for office and got votes by saying, vote for me and I'll get Trump. Do you see how it works? Then they bring the charges against Donald Trump. They trot him out there. They get the mug shot. They arraign him. I'm shocked they didn't put him in cuffs. And he defends himself, of course, in court, and he's going through the process of defending himself because, you know, he's an American citizen and has that right. And that allows this woman to say, well, he has no credibility after all. He's defending himself against civil and criminal charges. They brought the civil and criminal charges so that they could then sit on CNN and tut and say he has no credibility. They're the ones who have no credibility. They're the ones who have broken every norm in American history. I'm getting a little worked up. Should we go back to her? Because she's about to give you the money quote. I gotta let it flow. All right, let's go back to the money quote.
Measure. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions. And when do they break with him? You know, because at some point, you know, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members, but something needs to happen.
And how do you?
And there you have it. There's actually more, and we will get to it. But here's the woman who, as I just instructed you, started with you being in a vast right-wing conspiracy. And by the way, what do we do with conspiracies in this country? That's a legal term. That's a criminal term. As we've seen from the actions of her Justice Department and her FBI and all of the high-paid lawyers that have been paid by her and her campaign over the years, what you do with a vast right-wing conspiracy is you investigate, prosecute, and jail them. But she's come a long way from that. Then when she wanted your vote in 2016 for president, she accidentally let it slip that she thinks, I believe the quote was, half of the supporters of Donald Trump are put into a basket of deplorables. See, back then it was only half, which is about, 40 million. So she went from, you're in a criminal conspiracy, you have to be investigated, prosecuted, and jailed, to 40 million of you are actually deplorable, to now you're in a cult and you have to be deprogrammed. And that's quite a progression for this woman. And I want you to watch that quote one more time, but this time, if you can, don't watch her and her terrifying delivery. I want you to watch the so-called journalist, Christiane Amanpour, who is supposed to be, you know, some kind of reporter asking questions in a detached and unbiased way. Watch her. Watch Christiane Amanpour.
You know, because at some point, you know, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members, but something needs to happen.
It's funny. She thinks it's funny. She doesn't push back. She doesn't challenge. She doesn't say, wait, isn't that a little extreme? Oh, she was just joking. Sure she was. Just like that whole Russian collusion thing was just a joke.
And how do you do that? Because you said you have to defeat them by defeating them.
By the way, she just had the former Secretary of State, a former U.S. Senator, a former First Lady, and a woman who came this close, God forbid, from being the President of the United States, saying that half of the country is in a cult and needs to be deprogrammed. And her only question is, okay, so how do we go about doing this? What's the plan? I'm on board. Have you worked it out yet?
Their leader
Right.
is Donald Trump. Even you have said that you expect him to be the Republican nominee. How does this change at all?
At this point, I think, sadly, he will still likely be the nominee, and we have to defeat him. And we have to defeat those who are the election deniers, as we did in 2020 and 2022.
But what about the election deniers in 2016? Led by her. Election deniers. I wish Christiane Amanpour would have jumped in there. See, again, this is where you actually need a journalist who actually wants to get answers to questions and actually interested in delivering to the American people what they want, and isn't a cheerleader and on the side of the person she's interviewing, but somebody who actually smells through the crap. What Christiane Amanpour should have said, oh, when you say election denier, does that mean that you no longer deny the 2016 results? Does that mean you don't think that there was a conspiracy with Vladimir Putin and collusion between the Trump campaign? Have you accepted the results of that election? It would be great to hear that answer if only there were a journalist in the room during this interview.
And we have to, just be smarter about how we are trying to empower the right people inside the Republican Party.
Empower the right people within the Republican Party. If you're a Republican, please, are you paying attention right now? Are you seeing what's going on? And also, by the way, real quick, the hypocrisy here. Do you realize that the Democrats, through their own party apparatus, through their fundraising and through their political action committees that are completely unregulated and no one knows how much money is going in, dark money, Democrats are the masters of dark money. For the last several election cycles, either the 2018 midterms, the 2020 elections, and the 2022 election cycles, the midterm cycles, the Democrats have funneled millions and millions and millions of dollars into primary campaigns to help support Trump-aligned candidates during the primary, so that the most Trump-favored candidates win a primary and then lose the general election. They're actually supporting those Republicans in the primary so that it's easier for a Democrat to win in the general. So when she says we need to make sure that we help support the right kind of Republicans, well, they're doing the opposite. They actually don't want a, let's say, more electable Republican to win in a primary race because they might beat the Democrat. That's a fact.
How we are trying to empower the right people inside the Republican Party. Nancy Pelosi had a majority of 5 votes when she was Speaker. Kevin McCarthy had a majority of 5 votes. Nancy Pelosi passed consequential legislation, and she clearly had members within her caucus who, ranged across a spectrum of political beliefs and ideology, and she kept everybody together, and she kept everybody focused on the future. Mm-hmm. He couldn't do that.
Just so you know, if the next Republican speaker, whoever he may be, and it looks like it's going to be a man, if he is able to take his small 4 or 5 seat majority and pass legislation, Hillary Clinton will be the first one to say, he rules with an iron fist. He's an authoritarian. If you're a Republican and you disagree with him, you don't have a role in the party. I mean, that's literally what Nancy Pelosi is. I admire it, by the way. I wish we had speakers like that. But to suggest that that's some laudable thing from her, that this is heads I win, tails you lose when it comes to her criticism of Republicans.
And so he paid a price, but more importantly, the country paid a price.
And so,
wait, how is the country paid a price? Number one. Number two, he paid a price because he worked with Democrats. This is This is Hillary Clinton lamenting the state of our country right now because Kevin McCarthy couldn't get Republicans in line and rule with an iron fist. Understand where she's gone in the last 5 minutes of this interview. She started by saying we used to work together and we used to be able to, put aside our differences and get things done. That's literally what Kevin McCarthy did by getting things done, working with Democrats, and that's why he was ousted. And now she's criticizing him because he got ousted and couldn't keep his Republicans in line. Explain it to me.
When you see another matchup between potentially Trump and President Biden, what goes through your mind? And particularly, how do you process that this person who defeated you back in 2016 is still at it, given all that you've said, 91 indictments, civil fraud, sexual transgressions according to the courts? How is this still happening?
It's the answer, by the way, and if you were actually, a Native American and said process the right way and call it process, you would understand that the reason that this keeps happening is because Donald Trump wins votes. You see, all this criticism about Donald Trump and the indictments and all the things that they say about him, they're never coming to grips with the fact that he actually gets votes. People want him. People vote for him. So many so that this woman is being interviewed as a loser in a presidential election instead of actually a former president. Notice how they never confront that. I mean, the only moment they come close to confronting it is you're in a cult and you have to be deprogrammed.
It's a classic tale of an authoritarian populist who really has a grip on the emotional, psychological needs and desires of a portion of the population. And the base of the Republican Party, for whatever combination of reasons, and it is emotional and psychological, sees in him someone who speaks for them. And they are determined that they will continue to vote for him, attend his rallies, wear his merchandise, because for whatever reason, he and his very negative, nasty form of politics resonates with them. Maybe they don't like migrants. Maybe they don't like gay people or Black people or the woman who got the promotion at work they didn't get. Whatever the reason, Make America Great Again was a bid for nostalgia, to return to a place where, people could be in charge of their lives, feel empowered, say what they want, insult whoever came in their way. And that was really attractive.
Let me just translate for you. Again, we need a glossary here. Hillary Clinton just said that if you don't oppose Donald Trump, and God forbid even support him or vote for him, it's because you are a psychological basket case and are only motivated out of hate. And the woman who just a few moments ago said that you are in a cult and need to be deprogrammed, and earlier called you deplorable, and earlier said that you were a member of a vast right-wing conspiracy, she thinks that Donald Trump and you are very negative. Unlike the sunny side of the street positive outlook Hillary Clinton brings to the table.
To a significant portion of the Republican base. So it is like a cult. And somebody has to break the break that momentum.
Well, it sure ain't going to be you, Hillary, because you will never be president. Although, I don't know. That looks like a new pantsuit to me. And it could be she's lining herself up to step in when Joe Biden either is forced from office or forced from the ticket because of his lack of mental abilities or, because of all the indictments that he might be facing, or certainly his son.